All right, let me start this the proper way. Thank you so much for joining the Straight Shot No Chaser podcast on the Black Effect Podcast Network. I am your host, Tezlyn Figaro, and we are doing something a little bit different today. Many of you may have saw the viral clip that went. Several people posted it to their page. Several people were talking about it over the weekend, and it was a clip from the Griot News with Ebony K. Williams, who has a show on the Griot, and she interviewed Miss Van Zette Ayala, and they had a conversation about dating. And those of you, you can go back and watch the full video if you want to hear the conversation from beginning to end. But there was one particular part in the video that went viral, and the question was asked, would you date a bus driver? So I am going to play the clip, and Ebony K. Williams will be joining us to give her perspective on the interview, why she said what she said, what she meant, was it taken out of context, all of the questions that I saw you guys asking and commenting. I think on my page alone, it was about 900 comments. I know she had probably now close to 1,500 comments. I saw Tyrese showing it. I know he reposted it. Several other people reposted it. So she wanted to, have this opportunity to be able to discuss it. And I am certainly honored that she decided to have this conversation with me, because I know it is important for folks to be able to talk to, individuals in the space that they trust. And so I am glad that she chose to do so. So just bear with us. Um, as we are getting prepared for her to come in the live and join us. Pal on in the room, tag somebody who was talking about this clip, ask them to join us, and I'm going to play it for you here now. Put a three if you can hear me. It looks like I got a little bit of a delay, and I want to make sure, not on my YouTube, on my Instagram, put a three if you can hear me, just so I can make sure that we are locked and loaded and ready to go. Great. Thank you so much. So let me play the clip so that when she comes in, we'll be ready to have the conversation. Okay, folks. So there you have it. Ebony will be Ebony K. Williams. She just texted. She said she'll be just a few moments. I know she literally just got off the plane, and so she's going to have the conversation directly, so you can hear from her on why she said what she said, who she was talking about. But I do want to point this out, because one of the things that I keep seeing people. I don't know if it's people are just missing it or it's going over their head or what. But she clearly asked her, would you date a bus driver, meaning speaking to her. And I think, well, I know because the conversation was had in front of the masses, I can certainly understand why people believe that she was, I guess, speaking for the collective. Um, but I heard it very clear as her own um, position on what she would do and what would work for her. And I'm looking at comments now with folks saying, "Hey, they make good money and you're good to go." And I guess again, who I guess are you directing that to? Because I heard it as her giving her a position on who she would date. And that's the only thing that I've been just saying over and over, like I don't her preference isn't my preference, and vice versa. We have different preferences, and that's okay. And so I think a lot of folks felt attacked. A lot of folks felt that they were, speaking to them in some type of way. A lot of folks, just I don't know if they heard something different or what. But we're going to have her here to have the conversation. So just bear with us a second. I know she literally just got off the plane, but she said she'll be joining in about 5 minutes, and she's going to have the conversation directly with you. And I just I don't know. It seemed to be all over the place. And since I know her personally and I've heard her explain herself multiple times, I can understand why some people, see a 20-second clip and then go on. And so I'm just waiting on her to come in, and then I'll just be looking at some of your comments. You heard let me see, this guy saying also Alana answered her question and used Ebony as a prime example of the problem. Well, but she didn't ask Ayala the question. Ayala asked her, would you date a bus driver? And she said if they own the bus. And then Ayala proceeded to say that's the problem. So just being honest, from me looking at it, Ayala or anybody else can't tell me what I want to do. So I don't know. Like I said, Ebony's going to explain, what the premises is, how they got to that place. Where did it come from? Why would she say that was a problem? What was she looking for in that answer? She's going to be able to explain. That way you guys don't have to make it up as you go, because you've been pretty much making it up as you go in the comments. Well, many women have the standards of Ebony, but that's their standard. In response to Ebony's questions, context is everything. Yes, she responded. Ebony, she didn't, but again, she asked her, would she date? Let's just start right there. Would you date a bus driver? If you ask me, would I date a bus driver? And she says no, that was her answer. I guess I'm trying to figure out like that's her position, that's my position. It's kind of like in politics, how people are trying to make people be pro-choice or pro-life or LGBT or not LGBT. I'm just trying to figure out, do we have an understanding that people have different preferences? Put a 5 in the chat if you understand that people have different preferences. Yeah, Ayala definitely might have been using Ebony as a proxy for women in general, no doubt. I agree. I definitely agree to that. But I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at it exactly what it was. She asked her a question, and Ebony can't speak for all women, so she could only answer a question for her. But no worries, she's gonna be here, and she'll be a few more minutes, and she can join and tell you exactly what she meant. And I'm just gonna get some wine. Anybody got some wine or anything? Y'all want to get some wine or what? Y'all get y'all some wine, because this is gonna be a good one. Yeah, that I agree. People's feelings are hurt because they feel excluded, and that's just that's not everybody, but there is. I saw some people under my page say, "Wow, I had a crush on Ebony until now," and I find that interesting because you had a crush I guess on a stranger, and now do you feel excluded? Did you think you had a shot? Like what's what? I guess there's a lot. It's a lot to unpack here. So get some wine. Y'all get some wine. Y'all get some wine. We're gonna get it in just a few minutes. She said 3 minutes. She's getting upstairs. One person said it was an ambush question. Really, not really, because Ebony's actually made this pretty clear on several different platforms. People may not be familiar with Ebony, but she's talked about this several times. She's very affirmed in her answer, and you'll get a chance to see. Preferences can be wrong to a child molester prefers children. I think that's a stretch. I think breaking the law is a stretch. If I like tall men, that's not illegal. Let's not reach here. That's ridiculous. Let's make sure that we're having a conversation that makes sense. Let's not talk about chomos. I mean, that's ridiculous. I like tall men. And so if I like tall men, I'm not anti short men. I just sexually and physically attracted to tall men. Let's not talk about child molesters. Come on now. Let's come on, y'all. Let's not be ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Can we agree some preferences keep people single? Yes, we can. And if they stay single, let them stay single. Can we also agree that it shouldn't matter to you if I stay single for the rest of my life? Like, why does it? I'm trying to figure out why is everybody so invested. That's my thing. So if they stay single, and if she stays in a box, and if all of those things happen, isn't that on her? She would have to. She would have to suffer the consequences of those outcomes. Yes. If her preferences are so ridiculous, wouldn't she's the only one that has to suffer the consequences of that choice, correct? I find it so interesting. It's just so interesting to me. Just like I find it really interesting that married people in the comments are usually the one that whether they're lying or not, but it's usually married people that are saying, you're gonna be miserable, you're gonna be by yourself, and you're gonna be. I find it interesting. You don't hear single people saying, hey, married people, you're miserable. All the married people I know are on antidepressants and going to therapy, and studies say that married people are more unhappy than single people. And I don't ever it seems like I don't see the argument with the single people debating with the married people, but the married people are always telling single people that they're going to be single forever. And I would think that since you already got married and found the love of your life, why does it bother you? I understand you can't complain if you don't have options. You're going to hear Ebony talk very clear about her position with options. She understands that her options are limited. She's not delusional at all. But you guys will see. That's exactly it, Mr. Costa. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Let's just call it what it is. Give short kings a chance. I've always liked tall men. Matter of fact, one of the I think one time because they've never asked me that on the Breakfast Club for whatever reason, but I know they've asked two of my girlfriends, Ebony and Tamika, and they asked, does size matter? And Ebony said size don't matter. But guess what? Size matters to me. So everybody got a different preference. So Ebony K. Williams is here. Let me bring her on up. I've been getting them ready for you. Hello. My good sister Tezlyn Figaro. Yes, Ebony K. Williams in the building. I know you just hopped off of a plane. Ran here as fast as I could because this conversation matters. And to that point, Tezlyn, you misquoted me. What did you? I never said. I never said size does not matter. Clear it up, girl. Let me clear it up. Let me clear it up. What I said was, I'm right here with you, sis. You already know. Yeah. You already know. What I said was the only size that Well, I am a size queen, just before we clarify. Okay.
Bitch, I know you are. I am not a size queen. However, there is a such thing as too small. And once it's too small, there's not a lot we can do.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I
See,
don't want this information. I don't want no confusion in my inbox.
right? Well,
But
that was good. Well, I'm glad we got that out the way. We started
it's a perfect place to start,
a perfect place to start. So I played the clip for everybody just to get some context so that they could hear. For those that did watch the clip, didn't watch the clip, I played it. I got them ready. I said that you were coming to. Uh, I don't want. I don't.
Conversation.
Yeah, have a conversation.
We don't want to say clear up.
Yeah.
We just want to say what you know what? Let's start with the good news, Tez.
Yeah.
I got a book out called Bet on Black. The good news.
That's the good news.
America Today. There y'all see it right on the shelf, okay? Let's start with the good news. The good news, Tezlyn, is people are talking about a very important dynamic between Black women and Black men. Mm-hmm. And I want to start by framing it this way. I just got back, as you know, from a trip to India, a life-changing journey to Mumbai and Ahmedabad, India. And in the group that I went with, Tez, one of the things they challenged us on was to identify communities that we belong to back home that are suffering from rupture, that are in pursuit of repair. And the top of my list was, because I love us as Black folks so much, Tez, and you know this, we do this work, we talk about this both professionally and personally as sisters. I really, really, really want to help contribute to the repair of the relationship between Black men and Black women. So I think that is some real good framework for why this conversation that we're going to have, which is a continuation, I think a kind of further breaking down of the conversation I had with the good Dr. Masor, Ayan Lavanzan. And I just want to say this, and then I'm going to toss it to you. It's a shame that people watch so much cable news, Tez, that when they see two Black women in quote boxes, as we call them on TV, they presume debate. They presume adversariness. When the reality is, as you know, because you watched the entirety of the conversation with me and Dr. Banzan, it wasn't no checking me or me checking her or challenging. It was two educated Black women who love Black people having a dialogue, having change of position and ideas about what we value in love and relationships. It's all yours.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what I said in the comments early on when I posted it, that this was a conversation between two women, and two successful women, and also two women that two different generations. Ms. Van Zant is 69 years old, I believe. And so there is a also a generational conversation as well, that we have all the time on what our elders, how our elders perceive things versus us, and what wisdom do we take from them, and then how do we want to move in the world, and what do we leave behind, and all of that. And I saw a conversation, but because I know you personally, and I know we've had this conversation, and I also know that you have explained this multiple times in public platforms, I know that my perception was different from what they saw in a 20-second or 30-second clip. And I also realized that you've explained this like in great detail on the Breakfast Club, and it did not get that type of response because people got a chance to hear you from beginning to end.
It was a contextual conversation.
Correct.
Were you able to? I know we talked about it as I was getting on the plane. Did you get to see the full combo with me and Dr. Banzan?
The beginning, and then I had to get off towards the end. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, great.
So let me first start with this question. It was titled "The Straightening of Your Crown," and I want to explain that to the people that did not see it. What is straightening of the crown mean? Why did you choose that particular title? Why did you bring her in to have the conversation, and what does it mean, just at least on that part, on how do we straighten our crown, just starting on with the clip on what they saw?
Okay, well, first of all, Tezlyn, as you know, because we come from the world of child acting and modeling, I love a good crown. So I'm always going to use the good play on the words. And all the crown is, as we know, y'all don't take it too serious, is simply a symbol of femininity. So let's start with that. That is because what we're having a conversation around really was not even It's really not even about men. It got to that perception, but it was not about men. It was about women and our relationship with our, quote, masculine energy and our feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole conversation came about, Tezlyn, as you know, because I picked up the phone and called you that night after Ayala went on
The Breakfast Club. Mm-hmm.
The Breakfast Club. I was going to say our good friend's show, The Breakfast Club. It had a dynamic conversation with Charlamagne and DJ Envy, and I forgot who the guest host was that day. But anyways, and she made a statement that a lot of women are walking around today as men in skirts.
Mm-hmm.
And her premise was that young black women or black women, period, are walking around holding a masculine posture, masculine energy. They are walking around with an attitude of building and doing and accomplishing versus receiving, being quiet, and sitting in what she defines as the divine power of femininity.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it intriguing. You know, I ain't gonna hold you, Tez. I was a little triggered, a little hit, a little curious to learn more about how those dynamics apply today.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what you said, generationally. Because my position was, I never said it. I don't think Ayala is even wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even start from that premise. I actually think Ayala is right. And when you watch the full conversation I had with Ayala on my show, The Griot, which airs at 6 o'clock, check the local listings every day. I started from that framework. I started testing from a curiosity standpoint of where I agree with you that as a black woman in America, I am showing up with probably more masculine energy than not, because I am showing up to both provide and protect. But I feel I'm doing so because of a requirement to do so because of an absence of other efforts to do so, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not blaming anybody, Tezlyn. That's just saying what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore I wanted feedback from my soror, feedback from my fellow attorney, feedback from an elder in the culture, so that we can open up a dialogue today in 2023 about black men, black women, feminine energy and masculine energy. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to get, because most people saw just the part of the clip, and I want to cut that part off where you were explaining, you know, I don't want you to, basically paraphrasing, attack men or try to, you know, say anything about men, but you asked the question, how do we work it, move in our energy? But the part to me that I want to start with, she then paused and said, would you date a bus driver?
Yes.
And I've been going back and forth with people on this, because it's like they heard the beginning of it where you were talking about, and this is where people, when we're on TV and we're talking in the masses, we understand that we're talking to millions of people. We also understand, and that's the fine line between opinion news and hard news, and you know, and those things being married, because now you think I'm talking for all, bless you, that I'm talking for all women and I'm speaking broad. So the conversation to me shifted very clear once, because first it was a concept, you know, a concept, an idea. And then it was a pause where she said, let me ask you something. Would you date a bus driver? And so for me, it was a very clear, would you? And so for somehow, I guess people see that as you talking about all women, or because right before that you said some of us don't have, you know, the men available, some meaning more than one. But when she asked, would you date a bus driver? I saw that, and you tell me, I saw that as an individual question on what you would do. I didn't see it as telling other people what they need to do or what other people should or should not do or what, but I saw it as a direct. So actually, when I was going back and forth with some folks, they said, well, you know, she was generalizing it. And I said, well, what was she supposed to do? Lie and say she would date a bus driver? Did you want her to tell the truth or not? So explain, when you heard the question, would you date a bus driver? Explain how, I guess, how you got there. Yeah.
Yeah. And before I do that, it's just I'm not gonna respond to a lot of these little petty comments, because I know people came to this conversation some with open-hearted and open-mindedness and curiosity. Some of y'all came with your feelings hurt, and I understand the fragility of that. But a lot of people are testing always, oh my gosh, she just said she wants to provide and protect for a man. No, my darling, no, my beloved, I want to provide and protect for myself. That's all that was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
Ayala asked me, would I date a bus driver? And I believe what some people heard so to be clear, I said, no, I would not. Actually, what I said was, if he owns the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, no, I would not date a bus driver, but I would date a gentleman who owned the bus. And I want to get to the details of that in a second, but put a pin in it because here's what I want to break down, Tez. When I said if he owns the bus,
Bear with us. She may not have her do not disturb on. Bear with us. I'm going to bring her back on and let her come back up. Yes, she froze. She may not have a phone on do not disturb. So just bear with us. I'm going to bring her back up to come on and we'll get back into it. I think this is a good conversation. Put a 5 in the chat if you are loving it so far. Technical difficulty. Probably has her phone on not on do not disturb. Here she goes. There you go.
There we go, baby.
Okay.
My bad about that.
No problem.
Okay. So when I said if he owns the bus, but for him owning the bus, I would not date a bus driver. That's what I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what I know people heard based on the comments. Some people heard a bus driver ain't shit. Some people heard a bus driver is beneath me.
Mm-hmm.
Other people heard a bus driver is broke. None of that was said, though. None of that was said, Tezlyn, because none of that is believed.
Mm-hmm.
What I was saying, and I'm going to back it up and let y'all know some history because people were very much in their feelings about that. First of all, my mother drove a bus for many years. My mother, Gloria J. Williams, she drove a bus and she drove a public school bus for many years. And if you've read any of my work, Pretty Powerful or Bet on Black, you know this. And you know what my mother did with that bus driving occupation is she saved her money and then she bought daycares. She saved that money and she ultimately bought a fleet of 18-wheelers, becoming one of the first Black women to own a tractor trailer company in Charlotte, North Carolina. So part of this is that I come from a legacy, Tezlyn Figaro, of entrepreneurship. And you and I both know that we talk often about the importance of Black ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be very clear that when I retorted to Ayanla with saying if he owned the bus, that was not an income statement. It was never about an income. That was about a mentality, and that was about a positioning of Black ownership. And so sadly, Tez, what I was sad to see, I understand the critique, and we as public figures, when we put ourselves out there for commentary and perspective, it's going to get pushed back. I invite it. You know, it's really the point of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I was so sad to see, my sister, was not one person said, damn, that's a good idea to own the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not one person of any gender said, my goodness, well, you know, that's interesting that she proposed it that way, not rejecting the bus driving as an occupation, but even the consideration, Tezlyn, of what it would look like to step into ownership of the bus. And I'll say this and be done with this question. You know, I just got back from D.C., White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Mm-hmm.
A Pakistani man, and he owned the Sprinter, and he took me to the Urban League panel that I moderated, and it was a nice Sprinter, Tez, you know, real nice on the inside, new. You can tell the shit was new. And I said, "This is a nice Sprinter." I said, "Who do you work for?" That man said, "Oh, I own this." I said, that's real nice. He said, I own this and I own a Cadillac GT, whatever the fuck. So he owns just 2 vehicles and he drives them all day on his own accord. And I just was really impressed with this. Yes, Isaac, I am a Virgo. I was very, our brother Isaac Hayes III. Shout out to Isaac. I was very impressed, Tezlyn, by this man, this immigrant who has come to the United States of America and for whatever reason knew off the bat that his best way to liberation, to economic freedom, and probably to some level of cultural positioning, Tezlyn, was to not drive someone else's Sprinter, but to own one for himself. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to it though, because this is important, to say as well. I look at the comments and I've heard this several times in the comment section on what about if he owns the bus one day? So let's deal with the one day. First of all, every woman and man, because I want to make sure we're including our brothers, have different points that they're in their life, different points. What somebody did at 21 and 25, when I got married, by the way, to a mechanic at 23, we were building together. You were starting out together. You were, I remember we didn't have any money. We bought our first home. We didn't have any furniture. We had, one couch we could buy. We did the air mattress thing until we built up. 2 years after that, we got a house built from the ground. We did all of that. But that was when I was 23. So can we talk a little bit about what does it mean? Because I know you've said this many times, and I want people to put this in different phases of life. Where you are in life now, what somebody may be willing to build with when you were building and starting out and being young and starting with a man versus somebody 35 and older or even 40 that is now saying, hey, I want to be with somebody to build. What does that look like when a woman or a man goes into a situation and you've already built certain things? So, for example, I may be a little bit more understanding of, and I'm just using this as an example, an understanding of somebody that has bad credit at 21 because everybody does, or 23 or whatever. But when you start getting into certain seasons in your life, 35 and older, let's just say that, and you have done the work to have a house for yourself, like you do, like I do, rental properties like we do, certain income, whatever, all of those things, and you've done the hard work by yourself, is it asking too much for a man to at least meet or exceed what you've been able to accomplish? Or should I be a build-a-bear, and I'm just speaking this, in general, a build-a-bear factory, and say that I and just for clarity, before y'all get mad at me, I date him. Hey, baby, I do blue collar hood. But the point is, I'm just trying to give some context to this, that everybody looks at life differently in different phases. So is it fair to say that you have accomplished certain things, and is it unfair for you to look for those same things in a mate?
So here's the tea. I don't even have to be hypothetical about it, Tess. I'm gonna tell you the actual story. When I first came out as a baby lawyer, 23 years old, practicing law in Charlotte, North Carolina, my then husband.
Right, because you were married before, just for clarity.
Before, yeah. I mean, because apparently that's very important.
It's very important. It's very important. Yeah, it's very important, girl.
Very important. I was married before, and I decided I didn't like it. It didn't work for me, so I got a divorce. So that's the facts on that. Anyway, in my recent relationship, when I decided that wasn't aligned with my goals, I ended that engagement as well. So those are the facts on that for those that are keeping score of my relationships. So back to my first marriage. Tezlyn, I was a whole lawyer. I was making in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2008, like $120,000, which at that time for that market, and we got to talk about market too. We're going to get to that.
Right.
That was considered a very good living. Okay. That's what I was bringing through the door. My then fiance became husband was bringing no income through the door at the time because he was a graduate student. He had just graduated and he was looking for his employment opportunity. So the point of that, Tezlyn, is I have been the whole breadwinner in a marriage. So I'm really not going to entertain too much commentary about my lack of grace my lack of willingness as an individual Black woman to participate in building with someone. There's no better scenario to build than when you are essentially an angel investor. Mm-hmm. When you essentially are the one laying the foundational framework for the one with the credit, the one with the income, the one with the first and last month's rent deposit. I've done that, Tezlyn, and I had no problem doing it. What I am saying is that at this point, at 39, almost 40, I'll be 40 in September. And I loved the comments, Tezlyn, that both y'all really can't decide what y'all want to do with me. Am I a little girl who doesn't understand the ways of life, or am I an old bitch? Plus old bitch that nobody wants. I want you to figure that come back to me. Anyway, at almost 40 years old, Tez, as you know, we have worked, and not just myself. When I look to my left and I see women like yourself, I look to my right, I see women like Giselle Phelps. I see women like Natalie Robinson. I see women like people that we all know and love who have not just started the talk, who have established businesses, and not just anybody's mom and pop LLC. No disrespect to that. I'm talking about women who have S corporations, C corporations,
millionaires. Let's just go ahead and say it. I mean, I know you're not gonna say it. Yeah. I mean, because that's important. Because that's important. And I'm not saying that to diss anybody, but I know there's these, these conversations keep talking about six figures. So I just want to put on the table for you, because I know you're not going to put on the table and your humble self, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, so Ebony's a millionaire, guys. So when you're asking a millionaire to, and I understand, ladies, when you're saying, hey, such and such makes $50,000 a year. When you're talking to people that have, advanced to millionaire status, the income is different according to your standard of living. But go ahead and proceed.
And just how much it costs to do life at the particular level that you're doing it. And
right.
All of that is not, and let's be clear, Tez, all of that's not Birkin bags and trips to, Costa Rica and Turks.
Right.
My tax liability alone, Tez, as a business owner, and as a personal income recipient in the United States of America, we just coming out of April. Y'all know it's tax season. So you're talking to me about a good living being $130,000, $160,000 a year. I personally, and that's why when Ayala asked me, I had to answer for myself. It can't touch my tax liability, y'all. So what do you want me to do with it other than say it's an exceptional living for those that live that lifestyle? And it is. I really want people, Tezlyn, and one of the reasons I reached out to you, and let's be clear, I reached out to you to have this dialogue this evening. I want people to stop internalizing lifestyle choices and circumstances that apply to individuals that you see in the public sphere.
Yes.
The public sphere. And then you internalize it and you reduce it down and you apply it to yourself, and then you end up feeling a way that is unnecessary. Y'all, it's called fortune telling. It's a cognitive error. For those of you that are in therapy and do the work, that's what that looks like. You hear a public figure say something like, in New York City, and Google it. Don't take Ebony's word for it, because Ebony, whatever. Google it. The average cost to live a comfortable lifestyle in New York City, per the data, is $350 a year plus. That's the data. So I need y'all to look at that before you start talking to me about what a good income is, or what a lot of money looks like. And again, it's not because of materialism and just wanting to walk into my closet, which it is a nice closet. Let's be clear. Y'all saw it in the New York Times. Don't act like you didn't. They just had to put that out there. You know what I mean? It's a nice closet. But it's not talking about more Birkins and Louboutins. I'm now talking about when I want to go into a franchise situation, and I need a partner to help meet me halfway, not all the way, Tezlyn, but just halfway, where it takes 1.5 liquid and 3 net to get into consideration of the financial qualification for the franchise expansion. That is the life that I live. That I live. Not that you live. Not that Joe Schmo and most Black Americans, and frankly, let's get race off the table for 1 second, and I'm going to come back to race because it's very important. But even when you look at the average white income in America, Tezlyn, they're not talking about what we're talking about in this conversation. And I would say this because some of y'all really don't really want to talk about the real. When y'all start talking about how Black women need to stop being so on our high horse, so extra, so, oh, I love this one, Tez, unrealistic with our expectations and standards, I want you to know that you're doing the work of white supremacy. You need to know that. You need to know when you start talking to Black people of any gender, male, female, or non-binary, let's be very inclusive here, and you start aggressively, and because these comments have been a little
they've been aggressive.
Aggressive. When you start aggressively enforcing a narrative that says that Black women and Black people need to be extremely happy and complacent and welcoming of averageness, which another word for average, Tezlyn, as we know, is what? Mediocrity. That's the work of white supremacy. Because only white supremacy wins when Black folks continue to have a belief system. And again, I'm going to reference something I just came back from India. They have something over there in the Hindu religion, Tez, as you know, called karma. And karma is not exactly what we think of in Western perspective. In karma, we think of what you do in the world comes back to you. And that's a part of karma. But let me tell you another part of karma that we don't know so much about. Karma is also the position that you are born into in this life is the position that you need to stay in indefinitely in this life. And your karma is that you are born in the position, subordinate or mediocre or even lesser than what they call even the undesirable. So now we're talking caste system. And the reason you're born into that position in life, which is not wealthy or elite, is because of something you did bad in a previous life. And so thus your karma requires you to sit complicitly and, quote, happily in your subordinate, mediocre, average position in this lifetime. And then if you do real good and you're real happy about that life, maybe in your next life, you'll live a better life. That's karma. So I find it very interesting, Tezlyn, and that white supremacy has done a very, very good job of selling Black Americans, especially those of us that are the descendants of enslaved Africans, chattel property on this land of African bodies, of saying you Negroes need to accept that your lot in life is average and mediocre. And do good, and you're obedient, and you're good stewards, and you do the work to our benefit, and you center whiteness, and you drive that bus good, and you cook that food good, and you let our children nurse off your teeth real good. Maybe in the next life, you'll be rewarded. And so what I need y'all to understand is that I have divorced myself personally, because y'all like, hey, she asked Ebony K. Williams, I've divorced myself from white comfort and white subordination. And so therefore I will reject every time, Tezlyn, a narrative that tries to convince me with a smile and a nod that my lot in life is to be average. My darling, no. My Father God put something above me. My God gave me spiritual gifts, and we talked about this. This is not about me wanting to be rich and famous and look good, to have the bag and the floss and the fucking drip and whatever the kids talking about. That just comes with the fucking job that we do, sis. But what, and we first connected on this because of the work that we were doing specifically in the Lion's Den over at Fox News. Not everybody can do what we do, Tezlyn. Not every Black person, not every Black person, not every person, period, has the skill set, the intelligence, the temperament, the verbiage, the physical presence to occupy space and work on behalf of Black liberation in these terrains. And if it just so happened to come with 6-figure checks attached, so be it. But I shrink from the positioning my God has gifted me with for the sake of mediocrity, so that those in which men, women, and above can feel, comforted by the collective nature of Black averageness. If you're looking over here for that, Tez, you're gonna be fucked up, because I don't have it for you. That's it.
Right. Now, I want to deal with it because this person keeps putting this comment in here, and I was going to get to it. And I, again, it just shows me that there's a real lack of understanding between, male and the female position. And so this person keeps obsessively commenting, saying, millionaire men do it all the time. So let's talk about men and women. Men and women, and he is absolutely right. Men date and marry women who may not have the skill set, or the income or the status or any of those things, because women traditionally in our society have been conditioned to be the housewife or provide for the man. In fact, I was looking at a study today that was talking about how widows, once a man dies, and I'm not saying anybody should die, but men benefit from marriage far more than women, because if you are a good wife, there's nothing wrong with being a good wife, a virtuous woman. You are consistently putting your husband and your children first.
Yes.
And when you're
You should,
as you should, as you should. That is what a wife is supposed to do. If your wife is not putting your husband and children first, then she's probably lacking when we look at what is a virtuous woman. Because that scripture, line by line, is talking about what she does for her husband, how he even presents himself in the world, what she does for her children. It is all about the virtuous woman, which is why you usually see men advocating. They're usually the ones in the comments saying, that's why you're going to be by yourself. That's why you need to marry. That's why you da. Because men benefit from marriage more so than women. It's better on their health. It's better when the women are able to do most of the child rearing. It's better for him to be able to go out and hunt and bring the meat back. The woman is the spiritual backbone of the house. So I understand why men tend to advocate for marriage. My thing is, though, they're advocating for it by insulting you. By saying that's why you're this and that's why you're that. And what I want these men to know is, when you're doing that to women, it's not making them want to be married. It just simply explains to them why all of their married girlfriends, or some of their married girlfriends, are in therapy and on depression pills, because you and the emotional, whatever emotional abuse that you're trying to put on a woman that you don't even know, they don't know you from Adam, that have somehow internalized your choice. I've dated nothing but, and married to nothing but, blue collar men. And I find it so interesting that this sometimes, Ebony, this comes down just to the basic of men just feeling rejected. Because on my posts, if people go look at my posts, when one guy started generalizing all women, and I said, don't generalize all black women. That's just like me generalizing all black men and saying all black men go to prison or criminals or XYZ. He said, I'm not one of those men. I am, that's the bottom of the barrel. And then he tried to say, just like Kevin Samuels said. And I said, I'm so glad you brought up Kevin Samuels, because my day one is Kevin Samuels' nephew that has been loving me since 10. And he went to prison and he got a felony. And now he owns a business and he's a barber and he's all of that and more. And you have called him the bottom of the barrel. So what I find very interesting about this conversation is, I look at my educated brothers that put down blue collar men. I look at white collar men that put down blue collar. I look at blue collar men that talk about men that are in the halfway house. So to me, it seems that a lot of this is driven from internalizing feeling rejected, not feeling as good. So let's get back to the millionaire man situation, so that we can just have this conversation. Women are
one thing about Kevin Samuels, only because you brought him up.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's only this, because I was actually, before he dearly departed us, was actually entertaining. Kevin and I were in conversation about having this conversation in a similar way, because again, I'm so tethered, Tezlyn, to working on the reparation and the restoration of black men, black women relationships. But I have to say that it was not lost on me that in this whole outpour of commentary, when someone said to me, "Oh, I wish Kevin was alive to school Ebony," and I said, "Now that's interesting, because let's say y'all's wet dream comes true and Ebony dies alone and by herself in the old folks' home. I would still personally choose that over how brother Kevin left us, which was having sex with a prostitute at the young age of 40 something. So I just want to say, when we hold that as our standard of life success, we need to be real careful with looking at the contextual nature of that. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'd rather do it by myself, build my empire, live my life, have my health, and my old age, and be by myself. I'll take it any day of the week. Over the brother Kevin had to leave this earth, which I don't think anybody deserves. That was his circumstance. Brother Daniel was left with a heart attack, with poor health care, in the arms of a prostitute. And it's not a good threshold, brothers, to hold yourselves to. Now,
shit. Ooh, that was some housewife shade right there. Now let me get to the data on this too. Okay. This die alone concept, and then I want to get back to the marriage with men thing. The millionaire men do it all the time. First of all, everybody die alone. Can we get that? Everybody dies alone. Unless you're doing a murder suicide, you're going to die by yourself. That's just the reality. Now, I think what people are saying is there's not going to be anybody there to, change your depends or take.
Let's just tell the truth. It's gonna be who you hire now.
Right.
They go.
But let's also. Right. And let's also tell the truth, though, that according to the data, women outlive their husbands. So my grandmother's 90, she'll be 93 next month. She was married 40 plus years. My grandfather's been deceased about 10 or 15. Yep. So according to the data, I just want to talk about the data for a minute. Even women who are married for long periods of time, ultimately, based upon the health of Black men, still, most cases outlive their husbands. So when I see men pushing this narrative, die alone, die alone, die alone, I wonder, is it because your concern is you need a woman there to continue to take care of you, when ultimately when you pass away, she will be there alone? And so I just want people, I know they think that's a major threat, when actuality widows live longer. Just as a point, this is just the data, live longer because of the lack of stress. So I know you guys keep typing in the comments over and over and over, and I'm just telling you, it doesn't land anywhere because we've read the data. Now,
I really do want y'all to know. Most people in this conversation I'm seeing, Tesla, know who we are. They know our value in this conversation. What Tesla and I know are the numbers. We are never going to participate in a conversation like this without doing our research and coming to the table with the information. Go ahead.
Correct. So now let's also deal with this quick myth before I go back to millionaire husbands. When people say that's the problem with Black women, they don't date, they don't marry those kind of men. Well, the data shows that 36%, almost 40% of Black men are blue collar workers. And since Black women date, marry, partner with, because remember, everybody doesn't get married. So date, marry, partner with Black men more than any other group. Doesn't mean that Black women don't date outside the race. But as a whole, as a collective, Black women date, marry, partner with Black men more than any other group. So let's stop the narrative because you heard one woman's answer to apply to all Black women, because the narrative shows that Black women date, marry Black men more than any other group. And almost 50% of those men are in blue collar. And if we really get down to it, we can start talking about the number that are in debt. We can start talking about the number that has felonies. We can start talking about the ones that went to prison. So nobody, this is where I got frustrated. Nobody has held it down for Black men more than Black women. That's the bottom line. So let's stop this bullshit on that's the problem with Black women. Because nobody, including your mama, your daddy, your greasy head granny, aunts, all the way down, nobody has prayed for you more. Nobody has sacrificed for you more. Nobody has put their house up for mortgage more. Nobody has signed your Black ass cosign more. Nobody has been there for you more than the Black woman, period. So regardless of what you think any YouTube guru said or what, and again, I don't have a problem with Kevin's commentary, because that was a very isolated group of individuals that he was talking to, of people that called in that had those similar circumstances. But when you look at Black women as a collective, and I'm saying this as a woman who married a mechanic and did time with a man for 15 years in the pen. So all of that, you gonna be, see, that shit don't land well on me, because I've done that, did that, and will continue to, because they better in the bed. But we'll talk about that later. The point is, oh, girl, white collar men get mad when I say that. The point is, nobody has been there more for you than the Black woman. So why is it that they internalize what Ebony says instead of hearing what maybe their mother said, what their grandmother said, what their aunt said? So if I say something and I trigger you more than what your mother planted into you, that means you're talking to your mama. You can't be talking to me. Now, let's move on to millionaire men and why millionaire men can date women of a lesser tier. Because we talked about this.
Let's talk about it. So, I just want to take a beat for.
Let's just take a beat on it, just on that right quick. Yeah.
Have a single lie, no, not one. Anyway, so let's talk about currency. So we're gonna have this to start talking about. We're gonna have this conversation. Honestly, Tess, we have to talk about the respective social currencies, and by currency I mean the valuation of men and women in society. So here's what we do know, and this comes from a primitive calculus. Okay? Men are evaluated historically and modernly on what they can contribute to the household by way of provision and protection. We need a man, the man that was most desired in the olden days, and you can apply that to whatever time period you want to, Stone Ages, 1940s, grandma, grandpa, pop, the man that can bring home the big piece of chicken, and the man that can make sure no one takes it from y'all's household. That is the most desirable man in society. Period. And that controls for race. Let's talk about women and our currency. Anybody that thought they were hurting my feelings or that of other rich, wealthy, educated Black women by saying that men don't care about your education and income, I mean to tell you, my dear heart, we know this. We know this. No man, unless you're a real broke hobo motherfucker, is out here looking to source women based off of our degrees or our bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Know this. So thank God we are not pursuing either of those things, neither education, impact in the world, nor wealth, neither of any of the three things, for the sake of male approval or desire. Those are independent things.
Mm-hmm.
So what are women's currency, Tezlyn? It's our beauty and our youth. And this actually correlates to what? Fertility. Mm-hmm. This is where it's primitive. Men are seeking the woman who is most youthful and most beautiful, inadvertently or consciously, because they are looking to procreate in the most fantastic way possible. Mm-hmm. So that is why you see millionaire men of all races, we're talking about Black men today, that will bring in multiple millions or even billions of dollars and date and marry a secretary. That is why they will marry and date an unemployed woman. Mm-hmm. They will marry women that work in exotic entertainment. Mm-hmm. They will date and marry women with little to no education. And guess what the best part is, y'all? Educated Black women aren't mad about it. At least I know I'm
not at all.
Tesla. Because we understand that is the dynamic in which the currency that women are trading on, youth and beauty. Mm-hmm. So the older we get, this is more to the reason for those that are very confused as to why I'm pursuing single motherhood alone by myself at this stage in life, because my currency is no longer what it used to be.
Hold on, pause right there and say that again, because they really think that you don't understand how your preferences. Yeah, they keep thinking they're telling you something by saying, but that's why you. So repeat that again, that you understand where you are.
They be thinking they on their Tom Brokaw. I know they do. Breaking news. Yeah, I want to be really vulnerable actually in this conversation, Tezlyn. I am most aware, acutely aware, that as I age, almost 40, my fertility has decreased. One could argue my beauty, while still present, because bitch, don't get confused.
That's right.
While still present, it's not the same beauty it was at 27. I'm clear on that. Let's be clear.
Right.
Yet, the other aspects of my life that I have chosen to invest in, my education, my income, my asset building, really my community liberation standpoints, are things that I have chosen to employ. Mm-hmm. So I can't control the youth and the beauty part. That's going to deteriorate and depreciate regardless. Mm-hmm. So I'm making a choice to invest in the appreciable assets that lie in front of me, which are going to be the things that we just enumerated: buying property, buying assets, starting more businesses, getting out in front of the camera and getting behind it. That's going to be that conversation.
Right.
Y'all going to be seeing a lot less of Ebony K. Williams in front of your motherfucking cameras, and you're going to be seeing produced by, created by, owned by, because that's how serious I am about Black leadership. So I'm very clear of my market value. The problem is when Black men, maybe, and men period, really, because again, I have, and I know some of y'all tried to shame me about the statement of, I've been there and done that with all of them. Yeah, I have. But I know y'all want to put $1 million body count on me. If that makes you feel good, that's fine. And trust and believe, if I wanted to fuck $1 million, I would have. Yes, I would have. But instead, what I mean by that statement is I have been blessed to date men all across the world, Tezlyn. I've dated men in the UK. I've dated Nigerian men, Latino men, indigenous men, Jamaican men, Haitian men, Jewish men, you name it.
They line up, is what you're saying.
As well, you know. Right?
Yeah.
And because I've had such a delicious sampling, okay, such a broad scope understanding and sampling, I can test the data.
Mm-hmm.
And the data says that men of all of those variable points appreciate the same thing, the youth and the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So as the beauty deteriorate, I, Black woman in America, am left with no choice but to simultaneously invest in my appreciable assets, not the depreciable ones. Mm-hmm. And there lies the anger, Tezlyn. Mm-hmm. It's when women realize that we have an alternative pathway to everything we've ever wanted in life, to the lifestyle we want to live, to the children we want to have. They real mad about that one. Now that third-party reproductive assistance is available to women with the assets, means, and resources, a lot of men are very angry because prior to that, women of all races and incomes would be dependent on male mediocrity if they wanted to be mothers. But now that if you want to be a mother, there are a litany of ways to do that that has approached another hostility. Mm-hmm. So really what we're talking about is, no, I won't date a bus driver. No, I will not have children or marry or be partnered with someone that I find mediocre in any way. And that doesn't mean anything bad about those positionings. I'm going to leave you, Tezlyn, with a good little alcohol analogy. I told you I was going to hit you with this. And I was going to do food, but I realized that we all have to have food to live. And contrary to popular belief, we don't even have to have dick to live, girl. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that because I definitely.
It's amazing. But folks will have you thinking you need it to live. But it's not like oxygen. You don't even need it. But anyway, I'm going to go with alcohol. So there was a time in my life, Tezlyn, in which I used to enjoy a beverage called, you might not even know this beverage, but you might. Mad Dog 2020.
Girl, that was for $2 and $2.19. I know exactly what it was. I used to drink the strawberry. I am the hood whisperer, by the way.
Variety of flavors.
Yeah.
Strawberry banana.
That's right.
Regular strawberry. They had mango, and we'll be here all day, right? Okay, so Mad Dog 2020. There was a time in my life, Tezlyn, where you couldn't give me nothing but Mad Dog 2020, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I drank every little ounce, every drop. And then my palate evolved. And then there was a time where you couldn't tell me the best thing in the world wasn't Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. You recall that Kendall Jackson Chardonnay? I just thought that was the cat's meow. But today, at 39, and as a woman who had the privilege of traveling all across the world, if I'm going to drink a white wine, the only thing you can offer me is a very nice, dry, quality Sauvignon Blanc, preferably from South Africa or New Zealand. Now, you might be asking, why is she talking about this? Well, because alcohol is like a man. It's an amazing, and I like to drink. Let me be clear.
Not me drinking Sauvignon Blanc like right now, literally.
Are you?
Yeah, Sauvignon Blanc.
Because that's how far we be. If I gotta do it, that's how you be. So, I bring this up to say that much like a man, it's a preference, but not a requirement. Unless you're alcoholic, which we're not, thank God. But if I'm going to drink, that's what I want to drink, a nice, high-quality Sauvignon Blanc, if I'm going to drink that type of spirit. So if I'm at the bar, Tezlyn, and I'm going to ask you at the bar, and you say, I'd like a Sauvignon Blanc. And they say, oh, damn, you know what, we had some. We no longer have any Sauvignon Blanc for you, Miss Figaro, but we do have that strawberry kiwi malt Mad Dog. Would you like some of that? What are you going to say?
Just probably pass, because that's not what my taste is at that time.
You'll probably pass.
Yeah.
It's not to say, guess what it's not saying? It's not saying there's not somebody right motherfucking now enjoying a delicious cold glass of Mad Dog, because they are, and they always will. It's not saying that Mad Dog is beneath you, because we've all consumed it. What it's saying is at this point in your life, my dear sister, you would rather pass than consume something that is not what you desire in this moment. And that is the perfect analogy, Tezlyn, of all that was said in that conversation with the Yanma. It's not anything against a bus driver. My mother has driven a bus. I live it. I love it. I love public transportation. It's fantastic. And there are very good livings to be earned doing that work. It is simply not designed for the life I am living today. And if you internalize that as something other than that says more about you, my love, than it says about me.
Well, I do want to say this before you go, because this is important. I want to lead this out here for those that do date, may make more money than the men that they are, because it's a lot of that in the comments. And I keep trying to make sure that position is out there as well, because we have different preferences on men. even though we're in the same industry and do the same thing and very much aligned on a lot of things. And I gotta get this out there because, going back to the, millionaire men they date, women that don't have, when they're in those environments, those women are usually, if they go play golf and they bring their wife, they're usually there with other women that are similar to them, that talk about the kids, that talk about their husbands, how often their husbands are away. They have those conversations, they relate in those social circles. So there's one thing about income, but also income puts you into a different social circle known as class. You call it whatever you want to say, classism, whatever it is what it is. It puts you in a different circle. And what I know to be true for women that do date men that maybe make substantially less. I'm not talking about you make $18 an right. You make 18 an hour and she makes 24 an hour. And I don't have a problem. She make more than me. People are not understanding. We're talking about a very broad, a large gap, a big gap, not a $10,000 gap, a $20,000 gap, but a almost six-figure gap between one person and the other. It does put you into a different class. But for my sisters that will date men who does not make it as much, because I'm one that will. What I will tell you is, though, that even if he makes less, a lot of men are insecure about dating women that make substantially more, because when you bring that man to the cocktail party, he's not sitting around talking about taking care of the kids or doing whatever. Those men that is having a conversation with are usually the businessmen, the entrepreneurs. They're usually the business owners, because
which is why I said if he owns the bus.
Right. So I need people to understand that even though if you date less than, nothing wrong with that. But if you're in a different social circle, some men, not all, some men are very intimidated by that because they feel less than. We'll just give an example for those. You're a housewife. So let's just use a Real Housewives of Atlanta as an example. Sure. Candy being a multi-millionaire. That's it. Todd is constantly told, even though he has several businesses, you live off your wife. Candy is a sugar mama. She takes care of you. She does whatever. Constantly. It is a constant thing in their relationship that he has to manage with his ego and how he presents and how whatever. And he has to manage it with her mother. He has to manage it with peers. He got to manage it online. This man is constantly told that he's living off his wife. So you don't see that when women who make less than marry millionaire wives. You hear, oh, she's a trophy wife. And that's known to be a good thing. So I do want people to understand that when successful Black women that make a certain amount, when they do say, you know what, hey, I don't care about what the brother makes. A lot comes with that to maintain that relationship, even with him, because a lot of times he may not feel value just as much as you guys are triggered about a woman you don't even know are triggered. Imagine if you are with that woman and you're constantly feeling like you have to compete and constantly feeling like, well, maybe she doesn't think I have enough of good. Even if I beg, let me pay for the meal. I'll cover the meal. No, I don't want you doing that. I don't want you to feel like you taking care of me. I don't want to be no kept nigga. I can get it on my own. So there's a lot of healing, that also has to go on the men's part to say that if a boss say, I want you to come roll with me and ride with me, do you know how to support that woman other than financial? Because a lot of men, their idea, like you said, protect and provide. Protect, I'm a beat up anybody in the room if need be, and then provide. And so when you take that away from men to be able to provide, and you're with a woman that does really, really well, I'm talking about really well, not just a few bucks well, really well, and you say, oh no, I can handle it. I'm here to tell you that a lot of men, not all, really take issue with that, because it's like you've taken away something that they want to give you, and they don't know how to support a woman through prayer or support, or maybe taking care of the kids. Encouragement.
I think we got to address this.
Yeah.
Because is that, a lot of people in the comments talking about this notion of building. We went there early, but I want to say it really plainly. Building presumes equality from foundational points. So the challenge in this conversation that we're having, Tezlyn, and you've already said it, but I think it bears repeating for this particular conversation. How do we build when you've got women, and now I'm going to go back into the data points. Black women are outpacing Black men in higher learning by some estimates, 5, 6, and 7 to 1. We need to be honest about that. I sent you a graphic sheet from LinkedIn, Tezlyn, before our call, posted by the good brother, the CEO of Revolt TV, who we both had wonderful relationships with, Gatavio Samuels. And it talks about Black women above all other races and categories of women are the breadwinners of their household. When you start talking about households that are either egalitarian, which means men and women providing equally, and or the women providing more in the household, Black women win that competition every time. So we know that Black women are out earning Black men in terms of the pure data. We know that Black women are more educated than Black men. We know that Black women are starting businesses at a higher rate than not just Black men, but all men. Let's be clear. Followed very closely by Latino women. We know that Black women are owning homes. When you start talking about home ownership in the Black community, and actually, period, single women are buying 20% of the houses on the market. Single men are buying 10. Y'all, these are the numbers. So instead of just getting mad at anybody, me or any other woman you think is not getting it, or emasculating men, or talking shit about blue collar men, y'all, let's look at what's really going on to cause an inequity, an inequality of being able to meet each other right here and build together. It is because by the time Black girls and women are graduating from school and starting their career paths, they are already at a fiscal advantage. So that's the thing, Tez. I think I want to leave the conversation with a question and not a statement. What are we doing as a Black culture and community that addresses the persistent and ever-growing gap of wealth between single Black men and single Black women? Because I don't know a Black woman, Tezlyn, that wouldn't love to build on top of what she's already built with a partner. But when we look to our left and right, unfortunately, and the numbers say this, and a lot of Black men in the comments that were feeling away admitted this number, there's only a very small percentage of Black men that have the educational and financial bandwidth to show up equally partnered and ready to build alongside many of the women we're talking about in this conversation. So how do we increase that number?
Okay.
Instead of trying to argue Black women into average quote situations and mediocrity, how do we expand the pool, the scope of Black men that are able to show up and build alongside really accomplished, highly educated, wealthy Black women?
Now let me say this as my closing statement, because this is another one that's a lie. Brothers, y'all need to stop this bullshit about we don't care what you make. Let's just stop that lie. I know you've heard that on YouTube. I know that is your talking point that you were given, and you can continue to run with it. But as Tezlyn Figaro, aka the Hood Whisperer, who has definitely, I know exactly that y'all give a damn about what I bring to the table. So let's stop this bullshit. I am so tired. Oh, men don't care about that bullshit. Because if the average person, according to the data, again, we're just talking to the data. You continue, just the data. Y'all keep saying only 10% make six figures. Only 1% do this. Only 2% do that. So that means that you don't make that, which means that we have a huge income gap, wealth ratio with white folks. So if you are sitting here thinking that you're impressing somebody, saying, oh, I'm about to go there. If you say, I don't care what no woman brings to the table, then brother, something is wrong with you. Because one thing that Todd pointed out that I appreciated that he pointed out about Candy, he said men should want to reach for the top. You should want a boss woman. What is wrong with y'all in the comments that keep talking about you don't care what a woman brings to the table? Because the reality of it is, I know it's a damn lie. Because if you went to college, I know you have college debt. If you got a baby mama, I know you got child support. If you want a house, I know you need a down payment. I know damn well you need a woman's coins. And I'm not even talking about a 7-figure woman or a 6-figure woman. I'm talking about even that teacher that makes 40,000, 50,000. Just the ability for you to be able to go on a damn vacation. You need your wife's income. So stop this bullshit about we don't care what women bring to the table. No, what you're doing is trying to psychologically get in the mind of maybe a woman you're pursuing to believe that, oh, it's all right. He don't care what I bring to the table. And guess what, brother? If you don't care what she brings to the table, you better step your damn game up. Because according to the numbers Ebony just said, it's plenty women out here making the bag. It's plenty women out here getting it. So, brother, let me ask you, Since you keep on asking Ebony who her man is and why she can't get one, let me ask you why you can't get a woman that's making six figures, because they plentiful. It's way more black women making six figures than it is black men. So brothers, why is it that you can't get a woman that's making six figures? Why is it that you struggling? Why is it that you can't do the things you want to do? Do you not know how to bag a woman that makes six figures? Okay, so the question can also be flipped, and we can ask you the same question. And I want to just say this before I let Ebony go. Again, every woman is in a different stage in her life. I've had my children. I've been married. I've done that. I'm not looking. Just like you understand your value, I understand my value.
Yeah.
And I understand that once I've already did the wedding, the child, the house, the this, the that, it's about being outside for me. So, so I am not necessarily. I want y'all to understand. Ebony don't have classic. We're alike in a lot of ways, and we're different in a lot of ways. We can have different preferences, and it be okay. I'm not bothered by
so much more than okay.
Yeah.
God, like you, I don't know if it was you, Tez, or somebody else I was saying. They were like, "Yeah, do people understand when you say I don't want to date a bus driver? That means there's more bus drivers for other bitches today."
Come on, bus drivers.
It's what you call a win-win.
It's a win-win.
But guess what's also true? I really, really need y'all to stop pretending that anything that I said or that we've said even in this conversation, Tezlyn, is about eliminating other qualifications. Nobody said, well, if he owns the bus or if he's an entrepreneur, he could be a piece of shit. Y'all made that up.
That's right.
What up, Rel? Look at our boy Rel in the comments.
Hey, Rel.
Of course, that goes with. I would say it would go without saying, but we got some people that need some articulation, Tezlyn. Integrity, character.
Sure.
Consistency. I'm not even. I don't give a.
I thought that was understood though, because if you're a deadbeat dad, then you don't have character. If you're not a provider, you don't have character. I thought that was understood, but explain it to him.
So that's how we know people be faking.
Okay.
Because what y'all do know, based off of everything you've seen of myself, I'm gonna just center on me since I'm the one y'all was tearing up in the comments. Everything y'all have seen of me, watch any of my work, read any of my books. I'm not entertaining anybody of any social, economic, or educational status that doesn't have basic God values. I call them God values. Okay? So that's number one. So I love this framing, Tez, that all these bus drivers are saints. Y'all been watching too many Tyler Perry movies. It is. All the bus drivers are saints and faithful and God.
Right, girl, please.
And all the surgeons and all the entrepreneurs got AIDS.
Right.
That's the narrative that y'all married to, that Tyler told y'all.
That's right. And that's a damn lie too. And again, shout out to Rail in the bill. I'm getting tired of that too. You know, this idea that men who are successful, you know, are trash, and all the men who
they all have, girl, they got full blown AIDS, terrible, and it's almost like when you go to the bank and your shit clear 500K, that shit says, and now you got full blown AIDS. Your T-cell count is 2, bitch. Like, y'all need to stop that.
Like bus drivers don't cheat on women, and it's a lot of y'all. Well, anyway, I'm just gonna leave it.
Bus drivers are faithful. They be talking to our friend Charlamagne too much.
They really have.
Bus drivers don't cheat.
Child, please. I dated them in the penitentiary, and it's put a 5 in the chat, ladies. If you're gonna keep it real, you done dated them in the penitentiary, and they was cheating on your ass. So even when men don't have.
And maybe women and maybe not.
That's right. Even when they don't have women around, they still cheating. So let's stop this bullshit, sis. And let's just keep it real. That men are men regardless of the income status. The bottom line is it is a different dynamic when the woman is able to bring, you know, a little bit more to the table, because that means she may not necessarily have to put up with your shit. She can get her own, she can get her own house, she can get her own car. The power dynamic switches. But I also
let's leave on that test, because power is, people talking about salaries of 130 and 500 and 750. Fuck all of that. We're talking about power.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the fact, and again, I dated all incomes. I have literally dated men, Tezlyn, who made $28,000 a year, and I've dated men that made 100 million plus and 1 billion. Let's be very clear. That's what I mean by that.
Did you say billion, sis?
Oh yeah. You know, that was the one that was the minority owner of the Falcons. We'll talk about it later.
I love it.
Anyway, here's the thing. Once you date a man of any race with that level of income, he is typically not as attracted. Newsflash, I'm gonna have my Tom Brokaw moment. He is not as incentivized and attracted to high earning women. Why? Why, Tezlyn? Because you nailed it. Because his ability to move any kind of way, it could be cheating, it could not be. It could just be, you need to just be happy to be here posture. So when I tell you where we're living, where we're going on vacation, what the fuck you about to put on to my gala at my company, that's what the fuck you doing. Because you cannot live this lifestyle. You cannot be in the Sky Lounge. You cannot be on the private jet.
Tell it.
You cannot be at the Four Seasons.
Tell it.
The St. Regis. You cannot be at Soho, Amman, fill in the blank private club without me. So, and some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about right now.
Oh, they know. No. Hold on. Pause here. They know because they putting up with it just to get the bills paid on a weekly basis. But go ahead, sis. They know exactly what the fuck you talking about. But go ahead.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. No problem. And that goes back to our original concept. Everybody is living a different life on their terms. So again, I really just want this to be about and not debating and not trying to get nobody or fuck nobody up. Y'all, we are all Black loving people. Let's hold the space for wherever we are in our journey, wherever we are in our pursuits, making people feel like they have a opportunity of choice and not shaming them about it. And this is the last part your people need to know, Tezlyn. Your good Black people need to know. You cannot shame me. First of all, I was raised by Gloria J. Williams. She's crazy as a motherfucker. So you cannot shame me. So this is not about embarrassing or shaming. What would it look like if we flipped that framing test as a culture and made it about community, education? Again, let's stop talking about a race to the bottom. Let's stop talking about a race to mediocrity. Let's stop talking about a race to average, and let's bring everybody down to average. What would it look like to bring many up to superior? Many up to abundance. Many up to elite first-class citizenship in the United States of America, a land in which we are responsible for.
Yeah. I know we keep saying we're going to leave on this note, but just for the sisters that don't care about the income brothers, I want you to know, if you don't make a certain amount, you better be putting it down in the bedroom. That ain't Evan. This is me talking. You know, the nerve of you to sit around and run around. That you're going to have to make up somewhere. Pick your struggle.
Tezlyn said, pick your currency. Real.
That's real, though.
I think because we started with size, we should leave with
size. Yeah, we should leave with size because, that's my favorite topic. So
I think we should look in that shit. That's good. I love you.
I love you, baby.
All right, baby. I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. All right, y'all. So that's that. I'm going to close out my YouTube, family YouTube. Come on over to Instagram. I want to close this out. You were listening to Straight Shot No Chaser with Tezlyn